Hello everyone! Welcome to recent Pleasantview Round 2, Episode 28. The second round turned out to be quite long indeed, but as you can see we are already in Sim State University, and thanks to the fact that we now have the shortened semester mod and there are only 2 households here, there will only be 3 videos in Sim State this time. Each video will represent the whole year of studies and I'll do a small sub-rotation. I will first play Pinut Plaza, then the Trevor House, then the Pinut Plaza and the Trevor House again. All of the above means that the second round is almost finished. Now let's open the students bin. As you can see, there are currently not only Dirk Dreamer, whom we are going to move in with Gavin and Lilith, but also Alexander Goth and Melody Tinker and also Meadow Thayer. What is Meadow Thayer doing here? The first reason is that Meadow is my favorite Pleasantview townie and I always play her. The second reason, she knows Dirk Dreamer, he once brought her home after school and their relationship is already pretty high. And the third and the most important reason, Angela Pleasant is now in the Trevor house with Amy Beckett, one of Castronova's lovers, and Amy will graduate this episode. It would be too weird if Angela was the only sorority girl on campus, so Meadow is here to make her company. I will first move Meadow somewhere and play her off camera, make sure she joins the sorority, and then I'll be back to move Dirk in with Gavin and Lilith. Alright, Meadow joined the Greek house. She really got along with the girls, and now we are ready to move Dirk Dreamer into Pinut Plaza dormitory. By the way, he's got a ton of money for a student. I've just noticed that the household is still called Phoenix. I will take care of this. Anyway, let's read the household description. 1 year at college and Lilith already earned a nasty reputation on campus. Will it improve when everybody sees what a nice guy she's got as her boyfriend? Dirk arrived to the dormitory in a decent top and very ugly pants. Unfortunately for him and Lilith, all the empty rooms were downstairs, so he claimed the ones that had once belonged to Sam Thomas. And still it didn't overshadow the couple's joy when they saw each other's faces. But of course Dirk's main priority was studying, as he rolled a bunch of wants about it. First of all, he needed to choose his major. Because Dirk's lifetime want is to become the law and he's got high interest in politics and culture, I decided that he should major in psychology. I could choose history, but the skills for psychology seemed more suitable for Dirk's dream job. Meanwhile, I was trying to figure out what Gavin's one true hobby was. Apparently it wasn't sports, so I sent him to the mirror to work on his charisma. Lilith complained to Dirk about the mistreatment she'd been experiencing on campus, and Dirk suggested trying to concentrate on studies more. Lilith responded that her head ached if she studied too much, and unfortunately it was time for her to go to her class. And I also missed the moment when Gavin got his charisma skill point, so he ended up having more than necessary, as you'll see later. Speaking of Gavin, he had a want to meet someone new. Remember when Ashley refused to be with him because of the long distance? Clearly, Gavin got quite offended by that and was trying to kick Ashley out of his head. As for Dirk, he needed a cleaning skill point, so he had to clean one of the dirty toilets. But one toilet wasn't enough, so Dirk went to a community lot to buy new pants. He bought a pair of low-rise jeans, but decided not to spend too much money and chose an outerwear that looked like something his father might like. After shopping, Dirk went to the library, where he studied mechanical. Dirk's one true hobby is tinkering, and I'm not opposed to this idea. I completely forgot that time worked differently in the university subhood, so I sent Dirk to the dormitory hoping he would be back by Lilith's return. But of course he came back way earlier. As a neat guy, he was absolutely horrified by the state of the dormitory kitchen, so he decided to clean everything himself. Where is the cafeteria worker, by the way? Dirk also needed a cooking skill point, so he cooked his own meal. Lilith's mood was awful after class, so she and Dirk decided to woohoo. Her undies are something. Unfortunately, Dirk discovered that Lilith sometimes neglected her hygiene. That was the first time they lived together, so further disappointments were yet to come. I sent the couple upstairs to take a shower, but unstable Lilith preferred to annoy other dormies. Eventually Dirk heard Lilith yell at one of the girls instead of solving her own problems, and he told her she should visit a therapist if she really wants others to treat her nicely. Overall, Dirk got really disappointed in his girlfriend. As he was heading to bed, I noticed that Lilith wanted to be friends with Denise Jacquet. I think Lilith felt that her grandma Coral wouldn't last long and she was looking for another possible mother figure. In the evening, Lilith, who's got a surprisingly high interest in sci-fi, was stargazing to get her logic skill up. Gavin gained his second charisma skill point and answered the phone. Turned out a vampire was calling Lilith. Too bad she was busy looking at the stars. Meanwhile, Dirk woke up and decided to share his mixed feelings about Lilith with his school friend Meadow Thayer. Meadow recommended Dirk to find another place for living if Lilith's behavior was bothering him that much. Now to my personal opinion. I know that Lilith and Dirk are the most favorite pairing for many simmers, but I didn't make those shorts about Pleasantview Sims typical days for nothing. I do believe Lilith is too lazy, too sloppy, and too aggressive for Dirk. Obviously, it's not her fault, but she never did anything to change her situation. She is one of the few pre-made teenagers with no skill points, when she is a rich girl who neglects her studies and has a lot of free time. So after Meadow, Dirk called Angela and told her that his relationship with her sister wasn't as fun as it used to be. Meanwhile, Lilith discovered an unknown star and I sent Gavin downstairs to taste Dirk's mac and cheese. The guys were talking about studies, of course. In the middle of the night, Lilith returned to her place by the telescope, but her needs were too low to stay focused for a long time, so after having her late-night snack, she went to bed. Gavin had his final exam in several hours, but his logic skill was too low. Everyone was asleep, so I switched to the second household. And now we'll play the 3-var sorority. Angela's happy to be at college. She's picked a promising major, got into a Greek house, made a couple of friends, and she's also begun to see her relationship with Destin differently. I started by planning Meadow Thayer's outfits, using the clothes from the sorority closet. Meadow's bio reads, Meadow is quite talented and she knows how to make friends, but she'll do her best to never become like her mother. She wants to have a big and happy family. Here is the story. There is a downtownie called Lilith Thayer, who's got the same hair and eye color as Meadow. She had Meadow when she was 20, but as a popularity sim who had never wanted a family, she left Meadow at her parents' place and ran away to downtown in hopes of becoming famous. That's why Meadow, who was brought up by her grandparents, doesn't want to be like her mother. As for Amy Beckett, who is a senior studying psychology, her bio says, "Ever since Amy got her first experience with the famous Castor Nova, she's become much more popular with other guys. And now she's afraid it's too risky to date Mr. Popular. Maybe she should keep her sights lower. Amy's got a couple of guy friends and one of them's got a crush on her. Amy is a very rational girl, and as a psychology student, she'd begun to realize that Popular Castor might not be a husband material. Moving to Angela, she needed a ton of skill points, and I also wanted to change her major. Here is her updated bio. Thanks to her parents' control and unreasonably high expectations, Angela finds it hard to make her own decisions and has low self-esteem. She hopes it will get better away from them. One of my subscribers, called Potato Ash, believes Angela should work in oceanography, not in the adventurer career, because it's closer to her original dream, and I fully agree with that. By the way, Meadow rolled a one to declare the literature major, when she's got very little interest in culture. How funny. Meanwhile, Angela changed her major from literature to biology, as the sea was still calling her. Turned out Angela's class was in progress, so I made her go there. As for Meadow, she declared the physics major because she's mostly interested in sci-fi and paranormal. Angela returned from her class with a ton of wants about parties, and I took it as a sign that she wanted to make new friends on campus. So I sent her to the coffee house where she met Rosemary Miller. I think Angela wants the sorority to become more popular. Angela really got along with Rosemary, and I hope next episode this girl will be one of the sorority sisters. Meeting Rosemary turned Angela's thoughts back to studying, and Amy got a logic skill point she wanted so much. Angela needed cleaning, so I made her clean the entire house. The telephone rang, and I thought it was Amy's admirer. By the way, she even rolled a one to buy new clothes to impress him. But it turned out to be Sam Thomas. Perhaps this is what happens when you're unemployed. You start calling people that you barely know. Of course, Amy hung up on Sam. And very fortunately. As she was talking on the phone with her red-headed friend, the guy who was crushing on her, called Comey Davison, appeared on the sorority lot. She greeted him, and he decided to make his intentions clear. He kissed her, which resulted in his feeling becoming mutual. And I didn't even need to direct her any further. She kissed Comey back herself. Oh, Amy. Never mind, Castor had already got everything he wanted. Anyway, Amy gossiped about a cafeteria worker who couldn't cook, and said goodbye to her future husband. Later, she was writing in her diary about the TV shows that recommended dating less popular guys. After cleaning everything and still not getting the necessary skill point, Angela had to unclog the toilet, while Meadow was working on her body skill. I gave Meadow funky bed sheets and sunflowers on her side table, because I see her as a hippie-style girl. Angela was tired after doing the housework and decided to call Dirk Dreamer. They were talking about Angela's dream job, and looks like Dirk found it pretty interesting. Later, Angela decided to finish the painting she started before, and I didn't stop her because her fun was low. Angela invited Dirk over to hang out with her and Meadow instead of listening to Lilith's complaints. Meadow opened the pizza box right into Angela's face. Ouch! And Dirk admired Angela's looks. He never did that to Lilith, by the way. Angela and Dirk became friends while talking about studies, and later Dirk preferred reading textbooks to eating pizza. He wanted to be sincere while explaining his absence to Lilith. Angela kept on cleaning, but it never worked, so I made her work out in front of the TV set. By the way, judging by Amy's wants, she's going to be secondary knowledge. Angela managed to gain her second body skill point, but she needed 3 of them. And I decided that she could use the universal sorority wardrobe too. In the morning, Meadow rolled a wand to have her very first kiss. I'll make her look for a suitable guy next episode. Look at what dreams Angela's having. She clearly forgot about Dustin. While Angela was dreaming about Jimmy, Meadow was writing about the guy of her dreams in her diary. She got approached by Amy, they talked for a while and became friends. Now it's time for the second sub-rotation. Now we are going back to Pine Nut Plaza dormitory. Gavin was still focused on graduating with honors, which was impossible to fulfill as he lacked 2 logic skill points. I unlocked that wand and gave him a chance to reroll everything. He used that slot to roll a wand to go to class. Gavin, it's your graduation today. Dirk had to go to his class first thing in the morning, and I finally realized he was wearing Tessa Ramirez's top. Luckily, there was a spare one in the wardrobe. Lilith woke up in a bad mood and decided to argue with the dormie. Again. She was probably jealous of that dormie's outfit and called her an elephant. The dormie Lilith had insulted before saw the scene and poked Lilith straight away. Lilith continues to bring everything upon herself. Meanwhile, Gavin returned from his exam with a C+. He graduated and Dirk congratulated him immediately. The final GPA was 3.4. I think it suits Gavin. I decided to have him around for a little longer because I wanted him to improve his relationship with Lilith. Dirk decided to dance with one of the dormie girls. I think he understood he deserved someone better than Lilith. Dirk needed a bunch of skill points and got a cleaning one Angela's way. I changed Dirk's top to this blue t-shirt. He went to study mechanical and stare at other dormie girls. Later he called Meadow and told her he'd distanced himself from Lilith and wanted to look for other options. But Lilith wasn't going to let go of Dirk that easily. The moment she returned from her class, she went to take out trash before Dirk's eyes to prove to him she'd become much neater and was working on herself. Of course she was faking that. Look at her hygiene need. Angela called Dirk, which reminded him that he wanted to hang out with her and Meadow one more time. Lilith had to complain about being a victim to Gavin that time. But she had no idea that Dirk invited his friends over. Both Angela and Meadow were eager to tell him a joke, and the dormie he had danced with was hanging out in his bedroom. Oh la la, Dirk, you've become so popular! Dirk, Angela and Meadow went to the student union to play billiards. But the room was too tight and they stopped playing soon. I was thinking about renovating the entire campus, but it looks like some buildings will have to change their shape. Eventually, Dirk, who'd been staring at Angela's legs for a couple of hours already, flirted with her, which resulted in a mutual crush. Apparently, he liked Angela's makeover more than Lilith, so he complimented her looks again and kissed her. It was getting too hot, so both Angela and Dirk decided to make the blood flow back to their brains. Angela was doing her assignment while Dirk was studying mechanical again, and Meadow didn't even see them together. Then Dirk told Meadow he'd already found someone else on campus and didn't know what to do with Lilith. As a family sim, Meadow recommended to tell Lilith the truth, but when Dirk shared his worries that Lilith might react too dramatically, Meadow suggested to wait until Lilith finds someone else herself and breaks up first. At the dormitory, Lilith interacted with Gavin a few more times, and it was time for him to return to Blue Water Village. As a shy guy, Gavin didn't throw a graduation party and aged up into a very modest-looking outfit. I have no doubts the orphanage will let such a man to take Gabriella and Gallagher back. Lilith all of a sudden rolled a wand to meet someone new. Maybe Meadow's plan is going to work after all. Dirk continued to avoid Lilith and sat with one of the dormies she hated. Lilith reminded the elephant girl that Dirk was her boyfriend, and Dirk felt extremely embarrassed. However, the elephant girl told Lilith she didn't believe her because there was no way such a nice guy as Dirk would date such a horrible person as Lilith. With Gavin away, Lilith decided to whimper to her grandma and Denise Jacquet. She told them Dirk was a loser who neglected his studies. Unfortunately, that was true. Dirk's meter was almost empty, so I made him read textbooks before his final exam. Meanwhile, Lilith got her second logic skill point. Then she started working on her charisma to expand her meter further, but her needs were getting low, so she had to stop. Dirk scraped a B-. Apparently, dating two girls at once doesn't help to study well. Next morning, Lilith wanted to prove to Dirk she wasn't any worse than him, so she rolled a wand to do her assignment, and I sent her to practice her speech. Dirk wanted to do better this year too, and as he had the wand to write his term paper locked, I made him do just that. And now it's the Trevor house again. Angela woke up with wants about making a bunch of friends, Eric Swain and Rosemary Miller included. And downstairs, Amy was preaching to Meadow how important it was to study well. Meadow wanted to be friends with Ginger Newson, so she called her on the phone, while Amy chose to study cleaning and Angela was taking a bath. More cleaning from Angela and still no luck. That's because none of the girls was sloppy. Angela went to her class and Meadow had to serve breakfast. By the way, both her and Amy have higher interest in food than Angela. I noted that all the sorority girls had their fun need very low. When there had been a piano in the house, the situation was much better. When tired and hungry Angela returned from her class, the trainer attempted to force her to work out. But Angela was so exhausted that she burst into tears. Later, Angela and Amy were watching TV and discussing ways to make their sorority more popular. I think a big renovation might be a good idea. Angela's fun was finally up and she called Rosemary Miller on the phone. Later, she invited her over to introduce her to other girls. While Angela was entertaining the guest, Amy was making lunch meat sandwiches. Unfortunately, Amy had to go to her class, but Meadow joined Rosemary at the dining table. Meanwhile, Angela decided to ask Dirk Dreamer out on a date. You see, Angela was absolutely sure Dirk had already broken up with her sister. She'd known Dirk for years and couldn't even think that such a quiet and responsible guy like him could be a cheater. And I also made Angela rake leaves while she was waiting for her taxi. Finally, she got that cleaning skill point. Angela and Dirk went to the coffee house. Don't even ask me what kind of weather it was. Soon a random professor insulted Dirk for getting a bad grade and the guys had to leave that place. Angela was really hungry, so they went to the campus gym to eat at the cafeteria. Apparently Dirk wasn't hungry, so he decided to do his assignment during the date. Angela attempted to distract him from it by making out with him, but he was super motivated. Turned out Lilith was on that lot. And of course she didn't tolerate Dirk and Angela's behavior. Of course she attacked Angela while Dirk was trying to hide himself in the bathroom, refusing to believe it happened because of him. And of course Lilith kicked Angela's butt, and they became enemies again. And to make the date even more dramatic, Dirk got pickpocketed by the unsavory charlatan. His mind was clearly elsewhere. And after all that mess, Angela rolled the wand to apologize to Lilith. I believe she wanted to explain to her sister that she'd been sure it was all over between Lilith and Dirk, otherwise she would have never touched him. Anyway, Angela had her final exam ahead, and she still needed a ton of skill points, and her class performance was close to its bottom. I made her work out in front of the TV set, but her needs were low, so she stopped immediately. Luckily, the bathtub was broken, and repairing it granted Angela 1.5 mechanical skill points. Meadow's final exam was getting closer too, so she went to the campus lounge to play a musical instrument. As she was walking home, she got spotted by this red-headed guy who attempted to greet her but was too late. Angela's final exam was already in progress, and she was still reading a book on mechanical. Maybe it wasn't a good idea to change her major. Eventually, Angela got the necessary skill point and ran to her final exam. She barely got a C. Clearly, biology wasn't Angela's best subject. And I didn't change her primary aspiration, of course. Now she needed logic and body. Luckily, logic raises fun, and they have a chess table in the house. I was so worried for Angela that I nearly forgot to wake Meadow up for her exam. Unlike Angela, she wasn't hurrying at all. She's so chill. Meadow returned with an A+. I'm so happy for her. Too bad now she needed a ton of mechanical skills. As usual, Amy woke up with the want to get a skill point, and Angela only cared about the Greek house growth. I wanted Amy to get a good grade, but her cleaning skill was too low, so no more A+'s here. So that's it for Reason Pleasantview Round 2, episode 28. This episode was quite dramatic. If you believe that I'm one of those simmers who are convinced that Lilith and Angela should switch their boyfriends, I'm not. I think that although Lilith doesn't deserve Dirk, she's got something in common with both boys, but Angela for me is standing separately. I don't see her with either of them. Only time will show, I guess. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you enjoyed the drama. I hope you didn't cry for Lilith, because I know that she is one of the most popular characters in the entire game. A lot of people are rooting for her, and so on. I'll see you all in the next episode, where Melody Tinker will become our new freshman. Bye!